Christina Salvo, welcome to Drinks with Aston Legal Group,
Thank
owner
you.
of Simple Separations, and we welcome you. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Um,
Adrian.
so firstly, I've got to ask you, what are you drinking? And can you show the viewers what you're drinking?
I'm actually drinking pepper jack.
It's a good
I'm actually
solid...
I'm a white drinker,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, my partner, he likes pepper jack, and I've just all of a sudden become partial to drinking a Shiraz. So I've gone from not being able to drink red to now drinking a Shiraz. So I don't know.
And did you think of the teeth though? Like, we're going to go red by the end of this. Did you think of that, or? I'm just kidding.
You know what? Your teeth could never get any.
Thank you. I'm sending the money. I'm transferring the money over now. This is a Henschke Shiraz. This is one of my favourite drops.
You've got good taste.
Yeah.
I've heard that's amazing.
It's really good. You got to try this. Apple tree blend.
Okay. I've heard that's really good. I'm just new back into red, so I'm just sort of, but yes, I'll try the Henschke.
Opening your palate again.
Yes, I am.
So tell us, how long has Simple Separations been open for, and what exactly is it for all these viewers that say, what is Simple Separations? How can it be simple?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Simple Separations, since I actually launched it officially, I launched it in June this year.
Oh, really? It's a newbie.
It's a newbie, but I was actually helping clients beforehand, and just really doing a lot of doing clients on the side. I had another business, and I sort of liked the whole idea of helping people separate amicably. And I had this idea that I'd like to launch it one day, but thought it might be another year or two away. And then COVID hit. And I had a tourism business, so I had a hotel. And so for the last 5 years, I've been running a management rights business, which is a hotel. So we had 400 apartments in South Bank. And basically COVID hit and every booking got cancelled. And we were basically, it's led us to have to close the doors, basically.
Yeah.
I just thought to myself, well, okay, this needs to launch pretty quickly. So I fast-tracked it all. And so I launched in June.
But you were passionate about helping people. And so were you a mediator before you launched Simple Separations, or a family dispute practitioner? That's what you were doing? Yeah.
So I basically studied family dispute resolution and graduated, and I just didn't know what I wanted to do with it. And I didn't really want to be a mediator. I actually studied it because I was interested in family law, and I sort of thought I'd been through divorce myself. And
what year was this that you?
Divorced.
Yeah.
2009 was the separation date, and I was in and out of court for about 5 or 6 years.
You were one of the longest cases, I reckon, going through the court system. So what happened, what happened in your experience that it took that long? Like, what can you put it down to, if you had to put it down to some things?
Yeah, exactly. It's a very good question. Well, I wish I had someone like me who could have helped me navigate me.
Me too. I wish I had you when I was separating.
Yeah. So I just feel like it was the most confusing and overwhelming experience. Yeah. And my daughter was 2 at the time. So I was probably, still coping with being the single parent, adjusting and working. And then on top of that, dealing with a separation, and it was a really high conflict type separation. But I look back and go, it could have been better had I known more, and perhaps he knew more. We probably could have settled out of court. Had I known what I know now, I just go, oh my God, it could have been so different.
Was it a situation of, so you weren't informed, you think that your ex-partner wasn't properly informed either? So both of you guys were not equipped with the knowledge and the information to try and settle it, or think, was it more a fact of, if I knew there were 10 court dates or, if I knew it was going to end up like this. And so...
Well, mediation was relatively new. I think it became compulsory in 2008. 2009. So it was around the same time. So it really was sort of new, and it wasn't really encouraged. Like, I never had someone say to me, hey, there's all these alternatives. You can go this way, you can go that way. It was just, I just thought you ring up your lawyer and that's the way you go. That's just what I did. And then I think when we started engaging with lawyers, it over time, it escalated and then it became ugly and it ended up in court. And I just think maybe had I been different, had I known more, perhaps, had there been alternatives at the time, maybe things could have been different. And it could have been different for my daughter, more importantly.
I think like as a lawyer, I've got a lot of influence with my clients. I can say, for example, Christina, this is going to cost you a shitload of money. And it might end up as a situation where he gets a certain amount of time, and just be aware of that. I'm not undermining what you're telling me, the risk factors or the parenting factors, whatever you're telling me, but just be aware of that. We might get 12 months away. So I think clients need that. And I find that because I was a barrister, I can easily say that to people. I'm not there to sell them the dream of, oh, you're going to get 100% of the property pool. You're going to get everything you want with your children. It doesn't work like that. You really have to reality check clients all the time. Yeah. And I find that, and even when I was getting briefed by other solicitors, hundreds, they don't really do that. They rely on the barristers to come in and sit down and go, oh, you told Christina she's going to get 100%. No, you're not. And you see, I had so many scenarios where solicitor, junior, principal lawyers there, the client, and everyone just goes red, and a lot of the times when the solicitors would leave the room, the clients would say, oh, I wish that person told me this 12 months ago, 18 months. Are you serious? Yep. That's exactly what the judge is going to say to you. And come into court, listen to another couple of cases there while you're here. Go and sit with your sister or mum, whatever. Go and listen to another couple of cases. That's exactly what the judge. So it's really interesting that I find that they probably put the sell on too much and they sell them this dream of they're going to get whatever they want. But did you find that or not really? I mean,
it was 10 years ago and I just think that no one sat me down and said, this is what you're probably going to be entitled to if you went to court. If you spend 150K at court, that means that it'd be better for you to settle and give away 5% of your, no one sat me down and said it makes commercial sense.
You had expensive lawyers though. We haven't got to 150K yet. So,
whatever, I don't know. But I think had someone, and maybe I should have known, but I don't think people do. And I deal with people every day.
But how do you get onto solicitors? It's really, people just, they usually get recommended by their parents or their neighbor or someone. And, it's usually these people don't really do family law. I mean, now that you're in it, that's invaluable. You probably know, even dealing with other solicitors, people that practice family law, don't. The people that don't practice family law would not know what you're saying as a mediator when you start.
No.
Have you had that scenario? Yeah. Like people looking at you blankly going, what are you talking about? 75 two factors and what?
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Is that what I do is I try and simplify it, hence simple separation.
Yep.
I really try and make it accessible to the everyday person.
Yeah.
What a lot of lawyers I think don't realize is that it's intimidating and the jargon that's used and the process, and it's very overwhelming, confusing, and generally you're at a point where you are probably depressed, or you're probably
anxious. You're highly anxious,
or you're stressed, or you're becoming a single parent and or whatever. And to deal with that jargon and the intimidation, it's really a lot. So I just think, now knowing what I know, I just go, oh, I don't want anyone to go through.
So the best mediators like you and the best lawyers would dumb their language down, or explain it in a way that's familiar to that client, and you've got to sort of tailor it. Have you found that, like whether they're a tradie or a doctor or whatever, they like a certain way of doing it? And
you have to customize your language, and you need to relate to the person, and I think people appreciate that, and they are so nervous because if you've never done it before, how are you meant to know? And I think if you can just try and relate to the client, and I do think that a lot of them relate to me because I'm not a lawyer, and I relate to them because I've been through what they're going through. Yeah, so that's sort of.
And what's the success rate?
How do you measure
Have you done that? Yeah, I mean, how many have you settled? Like, do you keep a measurement of how many you settle and don't, or not really?
Interesting question, because I tend to attract. If you've ever looked at my website or my marketing,
I have. Yeah.
I'm very, very targeted to the type of client that I want. So I'm not interested in high conflict. I'm not interested in custody disputes. So our I guess our close rate, or people who actually buy us and then settle, is quite high, because, and I would say, I think there might be the occasional case where I take on and they, actually I don't think yet in 3 or 4 months I've had one case that hasn't come to fruition. There's one.
Wow.
There's one. And it's because there's an IVO in place and it's a bit more complicated, and I'm still working with that client. Most clients I work with, they reach agreement and they get a financial binding agreement or consent orders, and it has worked. And even if they can't reach agreement, I've found a way to help them access other services so that they have been able to eventually, whether it be through me or not. So yeah, it's been quite good.
Oh, and so you
sound unrealistic.
Sorry, idealistic? No. I mean, you can't settle every. Look, I always say it takes 2 people to settle. I mean, if you have one.
Well, I don't take them on if they're not.
Right.
They have to be committed to not.
A genuine effort to try and resolve, and then.
Yeah. I'm like, if you want to go to court, I'm not the solution.
Yeah.
Hi, Adrian.
Go and contact Aston Legal Group.
Yeah. I don't take them on. I'm not going to try and be all things to all parties. I'm more about the amicable people who can't afford to access maybe lawyers or go to court, and they just want a simple separation.
Yeah.
And so I tend to just focus on that.
That's a good point, because some people can't afford, those cases where they might be fighting about 100,000 or 200,000 in equity. And I say, look, you probably can't afford a lawyer. I've said that to a lot of people. You probably can't afford a lawyer. You probably just have to give the other party an extra 10% or whatever just to get rid of it. Because if you go to court, you're going to spend all that money. So justice is only for those that can afford it sometimes. But I mean, they still get justice with simple separations.
Most people will be attracted, probably people who go, it's not worth us spending 100K plus to go to court.
Yeah.
And they've worked that out.
Yeah. And do you have any funny, you'd have a lot of funny stories about mediations. Are there any that you could tell, that come to mind, or not really? I mean, I know you can't give it away. It's all confidential, but without saying names or anything, is there, I've had a couple of funny mediations. Do you want me to tell you mine?
Yeah.
I had one where I was in Dandenong, and it was a private mediation, and we conducted it at the courthouse for some reason. So we're at the courthouse, and there was an old judge, Maurice Phipps. He was such a good judge, one of the best, this guy. And we get in there and we're fighting. And I think my guy was like in his 60s, and he was an Anglo fella. And the lady was Thai or, Balinese or something like that. Anyway, they were fighting about champagne flutes, right? And we did all this hard work, like we're in the slog, in the trenches, and we're working through everything. We're working through selling properties, doing this, doing that. And then it came down to these champagne flutes. And I was like, do they have sentimental value? No. Well, yes, they do. I got them for Christmas, right? Yeah, but are they expensive champagne flutes? Are they this? Are they that? No, I just want them. And both parties were going to fight about these champagne flutes. So I go before the judge and I said, we've reached agreement to 4 pages, Your Honour. Here they are. And we're just fighting about these champagne flutes. And the way he looked at me, he looked up and he said, well, you could go off to Adair's or whatever. I'm like, are you serious? I'm not going to speak about, but anyway, that was my story. And I just remember.
Yeah, I do have one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Dog expenses.
What? Dog expenses?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
One party never wanted to get the dog. The
Yeah.
other party wants to make sure that part of the financial settlement or part of the child support,
Right.
that
The dog
the other
expenses.
party helps contribute towards dog expenses.
Yeah.
And I've been saying to her that maybe the dog expenses, is that something that you can live with? You know, and she's finding that really hard to live with.
She can't let it go.
She knows the other party didn't ever want to get the dog, and they're still trying to settle on what the asset division is going to be. But that's the part she can't get her, like she can't seem to.
Do you think some people need like a psychologist to help? Like, I mean, sitting there with you whilst you're mediating, like, do you think sometimes when they say things like that and you think, oh my God, this is a $20 million asset pool and you're talking about dog expenses?
Yeah, well, I've got a view on that, and that is a divorce coach.
A divorce coach, right?
Have you heard of divorce coaching?
I have, yeah. There's a few floating around. It's getting very common these days.
I think.
Tell me what is it?
They sort of help with the practical day-to-day, getting on with your life, adjusting to being, a single parent, and how to cope with pickups, drop-offs, communication strategies, conflict reduction strategies, saving, all that sort of stuff. And I think that it helps because it helps people work out what's important and what's not. And I think that, I think that works quite nicely with what we both do.
Wow, yeah, that's a good idea.
I'm a big advocate for that. So like psychologists are more about your past and what brought you here, whereas divorce coach is about moving forward and how I can help you in that transition stage.
And separate sometimes the emotion from the situation, because even when I represent people, I find they focus sometimes on just one thing, right? Whether it's super or whether it's champagne flutes or whether it's dog expenses. Like, and I'm trying to look, I know it's very important, and we're talking about that as well, but let's try and talk about the whole case as well. And you sit there going, lucky I don't have hair because I'd pull it all out.
I don't deal well, and I'm actually, I consider myself to be quite compassionate, but I tell you what, the emotion part when I'm helping someone with a financial settlement,
But that's what I wanted to ask you, like, does it take a lot out of you personally? Like, have you found that maybe you've changed the last 5 months, or has your partner said, geez, Christina, you're seeming a lot more stressed, or no? So you just take it in your stride. You got some good mechanisms to.
I tell you, I'm on. I'm very different to I probably attract very different clients to you. Attract high conflict, complex cases, which would be difficult, right? To deal with. I don't deal with that. I deal with people who are essentially, they've had a verbal agreement almost, and they just don't know where to start to make it official.
And tie up everything.
So I don't deal with high conflict. I'm just about trying to help people settle as peacefully and make it as quick, and try and sort of, and that's sort of what I do. So I don't deal with what you deal with. I deal with that niche.
Yeah, that's a nice little niche to get into. I like this niche.
I like the niche too. I don't want to deal with high complex cases because I'd find that really difficult to divorce myself from it, and I take it on. And where with this, it's just, and I guess the mediation training and the graduate diploma I did really teaches you how to detach yourself and how to check in and all that sort of stuff. So no, I don't take it.
Well, you're doing well. I think there's a lot of issues with lawyers, and I'm a qualified mediator as well. Like, mediations I find stressful, but when you're representing a difficult party and you're telling them this is the law and they don't care, I don't care, that's difficult. Those days are difficult. You walk out thinking, in any other job in the world, I would not sit there for 4 hours trying to explain to people law and getting yelled at and abused by the whole family or whatever it is. So there's a lot of issues, mental health issues in law, and I find that it's only the last 5-10 years that it's catching up to, okay, you need to look after your well-being, your health, mental health, do your yoga during your lunch break or go for a walk. And have you found, this leads me into my next question, post-COVID, have you found that your work rate has increased or decreased, or have you noticed anything, or not really? Any difference?
Well, it's really difficult for me to say because I don't have a lot of history to go by.
But you were practicing, you were doing it 5 years ago somewhere else on the side, did you say?
No, not 5 years ago. No,
all right.
A couple years ago.
A couple years ago.
Look, I'd say that there's definitely an increase during COVID and there's been a spike, but I think what I've realised in my business is that there's a lot of people who want to separate amicably, and I can't differentiate between what's COVID related and what's not. So I think, and I do deal with a lot of national cases. So I think there's definitely a spike, but I can't give you
the data yet, just yet.
I don't have enough data. I reckon, I think my intuition says that in the next few months, there'll be more of a spike because a lot of people probably being restricted as to what they could do because of financial, or they haven't been able to move from the house. So they're probably separated, living under the same roof. They're thinking about separating. I think it's all going to happen coming out of restriction. Melbourne. That's my gut.
Do you think we get into a bit of a recession? Is that what you're thinking, or?
It's I'm no financial expert, but I think the pressures are definitely mounting, and I think that a lot of people who probably had issues beforehand, COVID's probably highlighting it.
And it's make or break, isn't it, with COVID? Because you're home all day, so you either really get along with your partner and you think, oh, this was a good decision, you know, or you think to yourself, oh my God, you know, like, I think a lot of people are getting frustrated, and they could have masked that going out, go to the gym, go catch up with your buddies, but then now they're home all day, and I think they're analysing, thinking, we're really worlds apart here. Probably been worlds apart.
Imagine being in an apartment. You don't even have a backyard, or you can't go for it. It's a lot of stress, but I can't say that I can directly attribute it to COVID. What about you?
We've gone through. We've spiked. We've found that especially our intervention order hotline, that's spiked.
Domestic violence is
domestic violence, and that leads to family law. But there's articles about it. We probably tripled our business since June. And they're sad cases, but people need help. And like you said, sometimes there's nowhere for them to go because it's COVID. So a party's got to get kicked out and go and live with their parents. Some people don't have that option. They've got nowhere to go. And it's too difficult to work out parenting arrangements when you're under COVID. How does that work? It's just too difficult. So people are holding off. And I really think, I think the domestic violence, I think, I know Relationships Australia, it's very difficult to get a mediation. It's 3 months before you're on a wait list. So what about with simple separations? How long's the wait list with you guys?
There is no wait list.
Oh, see, that's the benefit of, go somewhere private. You get better service, because at Relationships Australia, they probably have, millions of people churn through there.
But, Adrian, I don't do the traditional mediation. You know that?
Yeah, I know you don't. Yeah.
So I don't do, what I do is I help people. A lot of people ring me and go, do you do mediation? I go, look, I facilitate negotiations. I am a mediator. I facilitate negotiations, but what we do is we're a one-stop shop. So what we do is we get the parties in. We can either work with them collaboratively or on a sole user basis. And what we do is we help people prepare them for separation, what they need to know about child support, what they need to know about, let's get your balance sheet on paper. Let's prepare you for legal advice, work out what your entitlements are. We get a third-party lawyer to help, and we just get it happening, and we just make it happen. And then if I'm working with two parties, I bridge the gap, do a bit of a negotiation between them, but I don't put them in the same room. So I've got a different style to your traditional mediation.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I do still refer mediations to other mediators when there's more parenting custody issues where they need a child consultant, or I tend to, but with financial settlements, I tend to do the way we do.
I've seen your spreadsheets, so that's why I know why you do them. They're phenomenal. You put a lot of time into, your work. And, I think from testament from knowing you don't mince your words, which is nice. With a mediator or a facilitator, and you don't mince your words with people. So I think they appreciate that. I find maybe that with lawyers, they might not get as much as that sort of, you know, reality checking. And
Yeah.
so they probably feel like, oh, this is like a friend just telling me what, you know, what I need to know, and putting me in my place if need be. And, you know,
Oh.
do you have any advice for people going through it? Do you have any advice for, you know, what's the 5 rules of Christina's simple separations with people separating?
Oh my God.
Drain the bank accounts, number 1. No.
Oh,
Have a little
yeah.
wine, number 2.
Yeah.
Have the wine. Yep. Hide the car keys.
Exactly. Oh my God. That's such a difficult question. But, you know, I think if you've got 2 parties who are child-centered,
Yep.
they can, at the end of the day, what I've realised through my own divorce is that the most detrimental effects going through court and going through all that is on your child.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to the child. So I think if you can get 2 parties to both agree to each other that we're not going to court no matter what, and whether you use simple separation, go to mediation, or use, you know, collaborative divorce, you know,
Coaches or practitioners.
approach. If you can really make that decision,
Yeah.
and I think that's something I would definitely recommend to parties.
Yeah.
And that's not like, obviously there are things like, you know, drug and alcohol, or there's, you know, child protection issues. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the normal standard.
Yeah.
I think if you can both be committed to financial disclosure, being open and honest and transparent, I think that's the number.
How often do you find people are not transparent?
That's one of the most difficult things, is getting that transparency.
Yeah.
But look, I must admit, they're pretty good with, like, the type of clients that I attract are generally people who are both committed to the process, both willing, and they're pretty good. But from a lot of experience from other party or other situations, that's a huge issue. So if you can both be really honest.
Yeah.
And what else? I think try and avoid direct negotiation if, like, you know, that getting the emotion, trying to take the heat out of the conflict, like trying to reduce the emotion and stick to the facts.
Yeah.
If you could both get your legal advice.
Yeah.
And both go, let's listen to our legal advice and let's get a mediator to be able to help us and commit to not going to court. Both of us, you know, not get to be child-centered and really act on the advice, and try and sort of find that middle ground.
Yeah.
That would be great. You'd save yourself years of unproductivity, stress, massages,
weight gain, alcoholism, you know, all that stuff. Yeah, right.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's good advice. Really good advice. I mean, yeah, I do find that sometimes there's a power imbalance. I mean, with your cases that you get, it'd be a pretty even power balance, it seems. But in my ones, it's different.
Not always.
Not always. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not always. I mean, that's the challenge of a mediator, is to balance the dynamics, you know, to give that, you know, to balance the power. Yeah. And that's what my process does really well, is I don't have to balance the power, because I don't have both parties together at the same time, that I have to worry about that, you know, with emotion and all that. I deal with parties, you know, separately. So that deals with that quite well, I find. Yeah.
I'm going to go on record here and say this, right, which is against the norm of you know, legal mediators. I prefer clients in separate rooms. I think in the same room.
Yes, shuttle.
Yeah, shuttle. I think in the same room, like, you know, but if you go through the court, the case assessment conferences or conciliation conferences, they try and pull you together in the same room, the clients.
Why?
And I don't know. I don't know the theory behind it. I think maybe they don't have to repeat themselves. It's quicker for them to just go, you know, what do you say? What do you say? But I always find that, you know, they get upset, they get emotional, they start screaming, and it just goes, okay.
I think it's in the way of a productive negotiation. And that's the reason why I do what I do. I do it separately, because my experience, most of the time, a mediator is spent trying to balance the dynamics, balance the emotion, contain the emotion, and I don't find that productive. And so what happens is more time, more opportunity for conflict. So I rather have them separate, and therefore it takes away that anxiety, that uncomfortable, you know, so I prefer that. That's my
I was there once in a mediation where a little guy went to punch a solicitor and he missed. He went across the table and he missed him, and the guy fell off his chair, and we walked out, and I stopped my client, and then I remember the registrar saying to the lawyer, "You actually deserve that." The lawyer said, "I'm going to report this guy," and the guy goes, the mediator goes, "You deserve that." But that's the conflict that it brings out, doesn't it? Because if you get a lawyer that sticks their chest out and says, "Oh, you're this, you're that," and they start badgering them, the person gets really, "Oh, you talk to me like that, you know? Okay, let's handle this." So I like shuttle conferences, shuttle mediations.
Yes, and mine's a form of shuttle conference. It is shuttle mediation, but it held at different times rather than at the same time.
Yeah,
it's the same sort of. I call it mediated facilitated negotiation. But it's a
MFN. I like it. Okay.
Yeah. It's a facility. It's, you know, I'm a qualified mediator, facilitating negotiation, but it's not an event where there's anxiety, there's build up. Am I going to be in the same room?
Yeah.
You know, there's none of that sort of.
And you formalize it, don't you? Like, this is it. When it's done, it's formalized, it's legal. People walk out and they go, "Great, it's done. I don't have to look at that again." It's done.
Yeah. So one of the things that I found frustrating in mediation, right, is that you parties had to go and get legal advice. So it can sometimes upset the momentum. They would be there and they're like, "Oh, I didn't think of that. I need to get legal advice." By the time they get back in, a month goes by or two, and you know, pick up and drop offs has been an issue. There's been an introduction of a new partner. There's all this sort of stuff. And then by the time they get back, you now need to go back 5 steps to undo. And I just went, no, I need to come up with a solution that provides that immediacy so we can get this done so both parties can move forward as quickly as possible and set them up for success.
That's great. And so how do people get hold of you? Just go on the website. Just go on the website. So Simple Separations. And you're nationwide.
I'm nationwide.
Yep.
WA, the Family Law Act doesn't apply in WA.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it does for divorce, you know, for married parties, but not for de facto.
Yeah, they've got, like, the family law applies there, but they've got their own way of doing things in their own court system. So it may be different rules. I mean, I know there's probably different rules for WA, but so you're trying to crack into the WA market, are you? Or?
Well, no, I'm doing everywhere other than WA at the moment, but I still get WA people come into me.
Wow.
And so my lawyers tell me that they can do, you know, people who are married, but they can't do de facto.
All right. Okay.
Legislation. So, so what was the question?
Oh, so how can they get hold of you? I just said, you know,
that they get onto my website. They can basically, there's a quiz, and they can find out if we are suited to what they're looking for. And then they can book a consultation, which is free. And I pretty much, you know, from that consultation can really ascertain what it is that they're wanting to do, how we can help. And if it's a good marriage, being the operative word, then they engage me and I help them through the process, taking them from start to finish. So we're a one-stop shop.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Do you?
Well,
I like that.
I can testify that you're good at what you do. I was shocked when I got a really long spreadsheet from you once. It was like 10 pages, you know, the background. It was like a conciliation conference. I said, geez, you've actually put in a lot of work. That's why I said, how do you cope? Because it was a lot of effort. But I think that's what people, you know, want and appreciate from you, that there's the care there's the effort. I gather you get a lot of good feedback.
Yeah, I do, but you know, I've got good processes, good people, and, you know, I try and do things as efficiently as possible to try and keep the cost down for people, to make it more of an affordable alternative. We're not for everyone. You know, if you've got a custody dispute, we're probably not your people.
Come and see Aston Legal Group if you've got a custody dispute.
And I will be sending them to you. But if you're, you know, if you want to work, if you've sort of, I guess, if you feel like, you know what, we're pretty close, we don't need to go to court, then we're the people for you.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, Christina Salvo. It has been an absolute pleasure. We could talk for hours and hours, but I've got to congratulate you. You've done really well. It's just starting, but I think it's going to be massive. We're going to try and push as many people that, obviously I see them at the other end, but people that are amicable, we're going to sort of push them towards you. And I really appreciate your time.
And vice versa.
Yes, thank you. Okay. I appreciate your time, and make sure you finish that bottle of pepper jack before you go to bed. Okay, go and share it with your partner. Next. Yeah, I'll send you a bottle.
Please do.
All right,
take to it.
Thanks, Christina. Take care. Have a good night. Okay.
See ya.
All right. Bye.